Hello there, welcome to another edition of River Talk at the Coastal Ale House. You know, it wasn't that long ago we actually sat down with the tribute artist from Legends, the Johnny Cash guy, and he was singing that song, I've Been Everywhere. Steve Porter has been everywhere, and he's done about everything. What a great broadcasting career, Steve Porter.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't have asked for anything better.
I mean, I got to tell you this. I miss you on the radio. We actually got to see each other quite a bit every day for a few years with the big media consolidation. But the players change, and change came to me a little faster than you. But I would, even though I was owning my own thing, I'd flip over there, and I love listening to you. I just always enjoyed you on the radio.
Well, I enjoyed being there. I mean, that was... the program itself was something that developed in my brain as I was working in New York and Washington. And I thought, one of these days, I'm going to go to a place like Myrtle Beach, which we all knew about, and put together what I would call a hybrid, which was not only a talk show for early morning, which means everything moves quickly. You don't stay on one subject all morning. You move on, you know, and combine it with heavy news, traffic, weather, sports, all that. Mix it all up together and create something that people want to keep listening to, rather than saying, oh, well, I'm tired of this, I'm going to go to it. Because we try to give it that feeling of something's happening, and we're going to be there because it's going to happen in a few minutes. It's just, continuous. So I miss it, sure I do.
But you're still out there, you're keeping your finger in the business.
Oh, yeah.
You have embraced the digital age as much as you. Yeah. And he might have done that kicking because he's got ink in his bloodstream, as well as being in front of the cameras and the mics for all those years. But you're writing for the local newspaper.com, which is a Greg Everett-owned property. And you guys have worked together in the past.
Oh, yeah, my goodness. I mean, he owned the Myrtle Beach Herald, and I was one of their main columnists. Well, I still am the main editorial page columnist for the Myrtle Beach Herald. And of course, Greg owned that and expanded it. He did a wonderful job with it. And then it came, he let's put it this way, he likes to play chess with businesses. Yeah. He moves them around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
So, and I think he might have seen handwriting on the wall that digital is the future, and he developed, I think, a fine property here, which I'm proud to be a part of.
So what am I going to find? I mean, what have you written recently on that site?
Well, let's see. Last week I did the robotics competition.
Okay. Yeah.
And then that led to an editorial, or what you might call a column, about how our kids in this country are a whole lot better than critics say they are.
Yeah.
So I actually went and checked the list of Nobel Prize winners. The United States in recent years has like 331. The next one in line is the United Kingdom with about 108. And then you get to Germany and then all the way down to China with 5.
Wow.
But something is going on for us to have that many Nobel Prize winners.
Sure.
But if our schools were so bad, we'd be down there with China. So it doesn't make any sense to me that there's so much criticism.
Well, the schools are great for kids that have that support system and the willingness to go in and achieve greatness.
That's correct. And not only that, we have a heterogeneous society here in the United States. All different kinds of people, all kinds of backgrounds. And when you mix them all together, you're going to get a wide variance. Finland ranks the highest in terms of kids that graduate with good grades from high school, but their system is based on everybody being on the same page, everybody speaks the same language, and it makes it a lot easier for kids to excel across the board.
The neat thing about schools in Finland is no matter when you graduate, you're finished.
Oh, gee. You're finished when you start.
Yeah, right. I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist at all. So that's some of the, I love your editorials because you do look at things a little bit differently. I tend to agree with you most of the time, which I don't know what that says about my warped mind either.
Well, no, you are true to your beliefs and thoughts. My career was built on being obligated to look at both sides.
Right.
And sometimes that makes it hard to just go to one side totally or the other, although I tend to go over on I lean your way, but I can't go over there without the other side chasing me in my
sure,
head.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It's just my training.
But that's harder to find in journalism today.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's harder to find. I mean, you work with the greats. I mean, one of the favorite things I like listening to was AM radio, early in the morning or late at night, because I could pick up the Skywave broadcast. I mean, you were at WCBS, for Pete's sake.
Well, I was their first anchor, man.
Yeah, I mean, what kid at 9 years old, 10 years old is listening to an all-news format? But I lived on a little farm. My world was so much bigger up here.
Well, you can get WCBS here.
Yeah,
all night long.
I still listen to it. Yeah,
it's wonderful. But and that was one of the ingredients in that hybrid recipe that I had for what I wanted to put here in Myrtle Beach. And there's still remnants of it on the air here. I mean, the basic thing is still there. And of course, then I went on over to NBC and was there in New York for quite a while, and then went to the White House and spent, let's say, about 11 years there. And all of that required that I be a reporter, not a columnist, not a commentator, nothing. I had to be a reporter. And so that makes you a different person when it comes to being involved with politics, or even like right now, a campaign. You got to look at every campaign from the standpoint of a true outsider. And somebody asked me the other day, why didn't I write a column endorsing one candidate or the other?
Oh, wow.
I said, no, that's against my grain. I'm sorry. Yeah. And I know there are a lot of people who call me a wimp because of that, but that just happens to be the way I am. And I have a personal belief that newspapers are far too influential on the average public.
Sure.
And if a newspaper, and most of them are bent over to the left anyway, and if they can influence one voter who might not know what's going on, and they go with what the newspaper, that's one too many.
Yeah.
That's not a newspaper's job. Newspaper is to inform. And give opinion, give features, give all, but to try to influence voters toward or against a candidate or a party or an organization or a gang, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one too many.
We're going to take a breather and come back. I'm not going to let Steve Porter get off with just a few minutes here. I mean, I want to find out what it was like growing up in Pittsburgh. That and more straight ahead. Welcome back to River Talk. Our guest is Steve Porter. Kind of fun to have you here because you're one of those guys that was in the business. Obviously had a love for it growing up as a kid. In Pittsburgh, though, I mean, when you say Pittsburgh, radio guys, they automatically think KDKA.
Absolutely. First commercial radio station in the country. And not only that, really good people. Which you probably don't recognize, but names like Reed Cordick and Paul Long and Ed Chauncey, these are legends throughout the tri-state, Ohio, Pittsburgh, West Virginia area. Wonderful people. The good old folks of radio, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
True pros. And involved with their community completely. They'd go out to schools and help kids and all. That was the KDKA reputation.
Well, I don't know how Pittsburgh was growing up. I mean, it was obviously an industrial steel town, and you hear all these dirty things about it. But I was up there recently, and they've got beautiful rivers, bridges there. It's a beautiful city.
Yeah, it's all changed. When I was growing up there, I was born in 1940. If that tells you how old I am.
Okay. Yeah. You're old enough to be my dad, Steve.
Okay.
All right.
And the city was just, the sun didn't come up till about 11 o'clock, and it went down about 2 because of the smog and the dirt.
Everything, yeah.
And you could come out to the front yard in the evening and sit down and watch the Bessemers blasting in the sky, just like somebody else would go watch fireworks. And of course, all of that was junk in the air. And we breathed it all. Most of us got through it. But then they came in with the wrecking ball, and that was the big entertainment back in the late 40s, early 50s, was watching the big cranes with the wrecking balls tearing down the whole front end of Pittsburgh.
Unbelievable.
taking out the rail yards, the steel. Of course, the steel went, and I think it's coming back though. I think steel's going to come back. And like Pearl Mesta was big time there. You know her from Washington,
right?
And her dad ran the Mesta Machine Works right there in town. And she dated my great uncle, who happened to be a congressman.
Yeah, I was going to. You beat me to the punch there, because I remember you telling a story once that you had a congressman in the family.
Well, he was 18th District for 20-some years, chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and in fact, he even wrote the surrender papers for the Kaiser at the end of World War I.
Wow, that's huge.
But then he was big in anti-drug work, and led the League of Nations to Geneva in an attempt to try to get China, India, and all the other countries where heroin was coming through. He brought them all around the table and tried to get them to agree on a way to stop the traffic. He walked out.
Wow.
He said they were so hard-headed. He just said...
Some of that hard-headedness continues now.
Oh, yeah. I'll give you an example. George Bush Sr., when I was at the White House, flew to Colombia to meet with Latin American leaders on how to slow down the traffic in cocaine into this country. When he left that particular meeting at his news conference out by the airplane, or his Air Force One, well, sorry, he didn't walk out, but it's deja vu all over again.
Yeah.
You know, I really felt strange about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's...
Well, what led you to get into the business? I mean, why did you choose broadcasting?
It was not a choice. Something in my mind wanted me to hook up every antenna I could find to my little home radio, so I could pick up distant stations.
Sure.
And listen to programming from all over the place. I didn't care what it was, the Pirates or whatever.
Yeah, right.
You know? And then, of course, they had the Lone Ranger, they had all this other stuff. But to me, radio was a theater of the mind and was just a wonderful thing, particularly in that era. So it's not that I ever made an outward choice to go into radio. I was building radios and taking them apart, trying to find out how they worked. And then, as I went through college, I didn't take one course in journalism or radio or TV. Although I worked in the college TV station, my education was all in economics and minored in English and history. I avoided journalism. I just didn't think it told the whole story. And let's see, my first job, I was 16 in a little station in Clearwater, Florida. And within 6 months, I was in the biggest station in Tampa, the NBC affiliate. And then went on, I was into college there, and then went on to the University of Miami and decided I was going to get out of the radio business and study, get good grades. Well, that lasted about 3 months. I went down to the big station in town, and they hired me right there as, part-time, weekend. But I was able to go to college. But then they came back and said, after about a month or two, we need you to anchor an evening newscast, 3-hour newscast from 5 to 8 in the evening. They called it Radio Miami. And it was all news radio. I mean, it was the beginning of all news radio. And,
my friend, I'm out of time. I got to get you. We got to get you. We got to do like a whole just Steve Porter unbridled one day. Appreciate you, my friend, and your friendship through all these years. You've always
been one of my favorites.
Thank you.
You still say Banana Jack on the air?
Yeah, you can't get away from it. Yeah.
Okay, just curious.
TheLocalNewspaper.com. You can find out what Steve Porter's up to, because he's going to find out what you're up to, and he's going to write about it. We'll be right back with more after this.